Spirit was moving over the water. Spirit, come move over us. Come rest on us. Come rest on us. As the Spirit was moving over the water. Spirit, come move over us. Come rest on us. Come rest on us. Sing that again. As the Spirit was moving over the water, Spirit, come move, even now, yeah. Come rest on us. Come rest on us. As the Spirit was moving over the water, Spirit, come move over us now. Come rest on us. Come rest on us. Come down, Spirit, when you move, you make my heart pound. When you fill the room, you're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will feel me. Calm down, Spirit, when you move, you make my heart pound. When you fill the room, you're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will feel me. Yeah, even now, wherever you are, just tell him, I'm here, God. I'm here for you to fill me up afresh. Hey, as the Spirit was moving. As the Spirit was moving over the water, Spirit, come move over us. Every home today, come rest like a dove. Come rest on us. As the Spirit was moving over the water, Spirit, come. Hey, come rest on us. Come rest. Fire, sing fire and wind. Come and do it again. Open up the gates, let heaven rush in. Come rest on us. Come rest on. I feel the fire, fire and wind. Come and do it again. Open up the gates, let heaven rush in. Come rest on. Come on, we're ready for you, Holy Spirit. Come down, Spirit, when you move, you make my heart pound. When you fill the room, you're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will fill me. Come down, Spirit, when you move, my heart pounds, yeah. You're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know. Sing, come down, come down. Come and move here when you fill the room. You're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will fill me. Come down, Spirit, when you move, you make my heart pound. When you fill the room, you're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will fill me.
Hi everyone. In Galatians 6:2, it talks about bearing one another's burdens. Paul is talking about it in the context of restoring a brother or sister who has fallen into sin. And that's a very appropriate thing to do. But I think when we bear one another's burdens, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond just simply helping restore someone. It actually means coming alongside of them and walking with them and picking up whatever it is that is weighing them down. Jesus also says, you know, my yoke is light, my burden is light, and my yoke is easy to carry. The same idea is that we are to carry our brothers and sisters' hard times with us. Laugh with them when they laugh and cry with them when they cry. Grieve with them when they grieve. That leads me to a term that I heard just recently. It's called micro grief. I'd not heard that term before. I understand grief and some of the Kubler-Ross's great books on grief, but I was thinking about this term micro grief. And the idea behind micro grief is that it isn't quite as overwhelming as the grief that we normally think of when someone dies or something like that. But really, micro grief is something that is just happened in our lives that is a bit of a difficulty. And I'll give you some examples, because I think right now, the reason I'm thinking about this is because I think all of us are experiencing some levels of micro grief. And every one of us may be experiencing micro grief in a different way. For some, it may be the loss of youth sports. For others, it may be the loss of in-person education for their kids. Maybe it's racial strife, and that's causing some grief in your life. Maybe it's just the anxiety of the pandemic. Are my parents going to get sick? Am I going to get sick? Maybe it is the political situation and how's it all going to work out? You see, I think all of those things cause us to have some micro grief, some difficulty for a while. But the catch, they say, with micro grief is micro grief is accumulative. In other words, it's not just one thing, but it's one thing, one micro grief stacked on top of another micro grief, stacked on another type of micro grief. And I think that's what's really the danger in this. And this is what all of us are feeling. We're experiencing this difficulty that maybe we can put a finger on, maybe we can't. And I think that wears on us. That's difficult for us to continue to bear, if you will. And I think that is important to help thinking about those around us and just to acknowledge and assume they are experiencing micro grief just like you are. It may be around different things, but they're experiencing it just as you are. Maybe right now, on the front end of Thanksgiving week, it is about not being able to gather with family, and that's the micro grief that I'm feeling. There was an interview of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who wrote the definitive book on grief. She was interviewed in the Harvard Business Review, and she talks about the grief that we're all experiencing. And she says, one of the things you can do is when we have grief, we always go to the worst case scenario. And if you think about whatever it is that your micro grief is, our minds are naturally anticipatory and they go to the worst case scenario. And she says, rather than let your mind go there, try to pull back and find some balance in the things that you're thinking about. Pull back and say, people get sick from COVID, but not everyone dies. So that was one of her encouragements in this review. The other one that I thought was helpful is to let go of the things you can't control. We, by our very human, sinful nature, want to control everything. And we have to acknowledge that there are things that are simply out of our control. And to acknowledge that helps remove and lessen the micro grief that we may be experiencing. And then the last one that I wanted to just touch on real quickly, I think she says is stock up on compassion. Boy, that's what our world needs more than ever right now, is a little bit more compassion for the people around you. I want to invite you to think about what are the areas that you're feeling grief around. That micro grief, and how many of them are in your life. And then I invite you to share it with those you're close with so that we can bear one another's burdens. That's our goal as followers of Christ, is to encourage, to be there, to strengthen one another. So I invite you to do that right now. Hope you have a good day. Let me pray for us. Lord God, thank you for today. Thanks for all that you do. And Lord, we do pray that you would be with us. And so help us in this time, this holiday week, to acknowledge the things that are causing us to grieve in one way or another, and to work forward with them. Lord, thank you for that. In your name, amen. Well, one of the things I want to invite you to be thinking about is I want you to be thinking about the experiences or stories in your life that I would call joy stories. And what I mean by that is simply saying, where are those places where you are sharing the love of Christ or where you're sharing the hope of Christ? And I'd like you to send me those stories or pass those stories on to me, because I want to try to collect them, and I'll tell you they are going to be beneficial for all of us as a congregation. And as we think about those stories, it's not this big flowing kind of, I went up to the door, knocked on the door, and brought someone to faith in Christ. That can happen, but that's not what I'm talking about. A joy story is something much more simple, much more ordinary. That's the place we need to start as a congregation. I'll give you an example of that as I'm quickly running out of time here. That's why I'm checking my watch. I will tell you a story that my wife yesterday. She had gone to the dentist in the morning, and to treat herself after being at the dentist, she went to Starbucks. And she was standing in line, and there were two people in front of her and one behind her. And she noticed all three of them, in various different ways, and I won't go into the details, were extremely rude and demeaning to the people that were serving them behind the counter, the employees of Starbucks. And as she watched that, she intentionally said to the person who took her order, as well as to the barista, "You're doing a really good job. Thank you." That's a joy story. That's all it is. There was nothing about faith that was shared. It was simply being an encouragement, sharing the love of Christ with our world. So it doesn't have to be this great, impactful story. It is something very simple, very kind, very compassionate. And so I invite you, if you have some of those stories, we'll talk more about it in the coming days. Send those to me, because I'd like to use them for an upcoming series as an encouragement to all of us here at Faith. So I hope you have a good day, and God bless. Bye-bye now.